You can have the money, the title, the house, the car, but if your body is failing you, none of it matters. Today's guest ignored the early warning signs until his body forced him to listen. What he discovered about healing, mindset, and the power of micro movements could transform how you think about success. This is the Walking Victory Podcast.
Now available. Awakening I Am, Internal Awareness in an AI Age audiobook, and our Victory Builders platform, which integrated system for founders who execute, is open. Links in the description. Successful. If you're going to be successful in life, you have to really think about your health, because you can have money, you can be the CEO, you can have the big house, you can have the fast car. But if you can't drive, if you can't get to work, if you're feeling exhausted, and if your body is physically failing you, it's hard to produce. Not only that, the mentality that it takes to overcome all of the things that come along with having any type of ailment in the body. It's really a mindset thing. I teach mindfulness um, to seniors, and one of the first things that we talk about with the seniors is different from what I teach with a youth or young adult, is first getting out of the mindset of I can't and adapting a I am or I can mindset. So not really looking at what I'm going through, and what I'm going through is really, really real. But in this moment, I may not have that much mobility in the arm, or may not have that much mobility in the leg, but I can use the limited mobility that I have, monitor, track, and continue to move, and through micro movements in every area, regardless of what condition the body is in, we can get back flexible, we can get mobility, and also we can get healthy. So the doctor report says one thing, and then your mindset has to say something else. And through the mind and through transformation of diet and slight movement and whatever else that it takes, we can't give up. And when you don't give up and you continue to push forward, then you can be valuable, because there's something happens along that journey of healing that brings and unlock other life uh, assets that helps us to become great leaders. I'm talking to an entrepreneur, a leader, thought leader, who is quiet about what you're going through, but you're going through it nonetheless. My name is NaRon Tillman. This is the Walk in Victory podcast, where we sit you at the feet of the masters and we have conversations that help you evolve your lives. We are intentional about what we discuss, because we want you to have key takeaways, little things that you can start to implement in your life today. And today's master is Professor Pete. How
I'm
are you, sir?
fantastic, NaRon. Thank you so much for having me on your show, and I really appreciate your listeners' time as well.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So when you hear healing journey or the mindset that it takes, what is the first thing that resonates with
You
you?
know, for me, it's listening to your body, because our body will tell us if, let's say, we're stressing ourselves out. It'll give us these early warning signs. And it's up to us to pay attention to those early warning signs. And I didn't. These early warning signs, it might be something as simple as back or shoulder stiffness, because when we're stressed, and let's say we sit at a desk or we do a lot of sitting during the day, what'll end up happening is when we're stressed, we tend to hunch over. We don't realize we're doing it, but we tend to hunch over. And when we hunch over, that puts a lot more pressure on our back and our shoulders. So that's an early warning sign. Another one is lack of concentration. So instead of being able to focus, we're not being, we're bouncing all over the place. So typically in a multitasking kind of situation. We might also have mood swings where we go from happy to sad or angry at a moment's notice. That's a classic one. Maybe having anxiety over something that may or may not happen in the future. All these things are early warning signs that tell us that we are stressed. And if we don't do anything to address that, that could be problematic. Another one that I hear frequently is, let's say, reaching for the Excedrin bottle every day or every other day because of your headaches instead of, once in a while, or, getting digestive issues where no amount of Pepto-Bismol is helping us. That's a classic example that we're stressed out. And then one that really hit home for me was weight fluctuations. So, and this is either gaining or losing weight rapidly. And prior to my diagnosis with stress-induced diabetes back in 2008, I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. And at first, I thought that this was fantastic. I was in my mid 40s. I wasn't dieting. I was eating whatever I wanted. I was doing my regular exercise, but nothing out of the ordinary. And the weight kept coming off. And after the 30th pound came off, I thought, I better have this checked out. And so I went to the doctor. They did blood work, and they came back and said, well, I'd hate to say congratulations, but you've got diabetes, and there's no diabetes that runs in your family. So guess what? It's stress induced. And because I was just working. I had my dad at that time. My dad was dying, and I had to take care of his affairs. My kids were small at this time, and they wanted dad's attention. I was working easily 60, 80 hours a week, and my marriage was heading for a divorce. So there were all these things that I was carrying on my shoulders, and I kept on saying to myself, I'll take care of my health when I have the time. And I remember even being in my dad's room in hospice, and my back locked up, and I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit. I was literally lying on the tile floor of his room visiting him because that's the only thing I could do that wasn't excruciating pain. And it just, did I do anything though to take care of it? No. I continued to burn the candle at both ends for another 10 years until I ended up in the emergency room. And that's when it finally hit me, because I got admitted into the ER with a severe case of diabetic ketoacidosis, which basically my body was eating itself alive because of my stress. And that's when it finally hit me. And I spent several days in ICU recovering. And here's the crazy part. I was sitting there with my phone doing work while I was in ICU. And finally, this nurse, who, was pretty much a complete stranger, she comes over to me and she says this to me that finally hit home. She says, as she saw me trying to do work on my phone, because what a surprise, I didn't have my work laptop in the ICU. And she says to me, you realize, and she points right at my phone, she says, you realize that's what put you in this hospital bed in the first place. And that was what finally woke me up. I went, oh my gosh, I am trading my health for my career, and that's a really bad trade.
Fast forward though, here
Yep.
we are today, and where most people would have written off and taken that experience as a way to quit. What did you take that experience, and where did it lead you
Well,
at today?
it's a great question. When I had that epiphany that I was trading my health for my career, I realized that if I continued doing what I was doing, I wasn't going to be around to meet my future grandchildren. And that's what I thought, okay, I better take care of my health now, because in reality, the two most important things that we have, and I don't care who it is, the two most important things we have are our health and time. And, time, once we've used it, we can't get it back. Our health, if we're lucky and we waste it, hopefully we can do stuff to get it back. Now, I've got a chronic disease that I have to deal with for the rest of my life, but I did things to address it so that I wouldn't continue to waste it. And what's interesting is when I finally decided for the first time in my life to focus on my health instead of just putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, not only did my stress go down, my weight went down, my energy started going up. And here's the craziest thing of all. So if you saw a picture of me back in 2008 when I was first diagnosed with stress-induced diabetes, and you see me now, other than some additional gray hair, I actually look younger today than I did back then. And that is nuts. It's what stress does to us. It ages us rapidly. And so it's a matter of saying, you know what, this getting these issues, these health issues, either we can look at it and say, well, it's oh well, and I'm just going to feel sorry for myself and, continue to do what's not working. Or we could say, you know what, I got to deal with this now, but I want to try and make myself better so that my future years aren't as problematic as they could be. And, so now from a mindset standpoint, I look at it and I think, okay, yeah, I've got all these aches and pains. I'm in my 60s. I've got all these aches and pains, but that's a privilege as we age because it's part of getting older, as opposed to thinking, oh, this is a problem and I don't, I'm going to feel sorry for myself. So it's an interesting thing. And, you mentioned about dealing with, helping people at advanced stages. And that's who I primarily focus with my laughter yoga. And it's interesting to see how my weekly classes, how people come who they're looking to connect with other people, because that's one of the drawbacks a lot of people have when they get older is they end up in isolation. And instead, they get to be out with friends. And laughter is an absolutely amazing connector, because it doesn't matter what your background is, what your language is, what your religious beliefs are. It doesn't matter, because when we laugh the same language. And it's this connector where people can laugh together, have this wonderful community, and the health benefits that people can get from doing intentional laughter are absolutely amazing. And I've seen it firsthand teaching this for the last 6 years.
So, for those of you who don't know that laugh is a part of yoga, you're the second person that I've interviewed that actually um, teaches laugh yoga. Explain to people exactly what does that experience
Sure.
look like.
So it started back in 1995 by a cardiologist made in Kataria in India. And basically, if you think about it, you know how great it feels when you do a hearty laugh. When we
Yeah.
laugh, our bodies, after laughing for, let's say, 5, 6 seconds, our bodies release positive endorphins. And these positive endorphins give us the stress relief, lower our blood pressure, make us feel better. It's the good feeling hormones. But what is crazy is as smart as our bodies are, they don't know the difference between a real and a simulated laugh. Only knows that we're laughing. And so, what we do in laughter yoga is we do laughter exercises. So, for example, let me take you through one, and the listeners can do this together as well. And so, let's do. It's called gradient laughter. And so, what we do is we start with a quiet laugh, and as you see my hand go up, we're going to laugh louder and louder, and then we'll go back down, be more quiet laughter, and then we're going to do it one more time, and then we'll see how we feel after this. So go ahead and we start just kind of laughing like ha 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 ha, and I know it's going to feel weird, and I'll explain it after we're done. But ha 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 ha. We're going to get laughed louder. Ha 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 ha. A little bit quieter.
I'm really laughing now.
And let's do it again.
Yeah.
Ooh, feels good, doesn't it? It's crazy. And the fact that as I watched you and you watched me, you started laughing because you saw me laughing. Laughter is contagious. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how that can make us feel better. But what happens is when we were kids, we often laughed 100 times a day, and that's either a chuckle, a smile, whatever it happens to be. But as adults, with all of our responsibilities, we are lucky if we laugh 5 times a day. And the problem as adults as well is we're told or we're taught as adults that we have to have a reason to laugh. In
Mindset.
laughter yoga, we laugh for no reason. Yeah, and it's a simple difference. And so what's interesting is that whenever a new person comes to class, I warn them ahead of time. I say, okay, you don't have to worry about laughing as good as the person next to you or somebody else. Don't compare your laugh because we are not judging your laugh. You laugh as little or as much as you want. And secondly, yes, it's going to feel weird because we're not used to just laughing for no reason because it's out of the ordinary. But once somebody comes for one class, I always say, do it twice before deciding whether or not it's something for you. Because the first time you're going to be looking there and go, this is really weird. I don't know if I like this, blah, 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 blah. But then the second time you come, then you know what to expect and you can just enjoy it. And then after that second time, then you can just decide, is this something that I want to do or not? And it works. And I have seen, so I've seen so many different situations with people who come in. I remember I had one class where this woman brought her mother, and her mother sat there like a prisoner. It was like she did not want to be there. And so she was just giving me these dirty looks the whole time. And there was this one activity we do called argument laughter. And basically, what you do is you just pretend to argue with the person next to you. But instead of using words, you just go ha 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 ho 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 like this, because as long as we're doing ha 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 ho 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 he, we're telling our bodies that we're laughing. So it's an activity. And when it got to her to do argument with me, because she was sitting next to me, in addition to the arguing, she was doing these indicators like she was slapping me and punching me. She was definitely not wanting to be there. And so I figured at the end of class, she was just going to get out of there, skedaddle as fast as she could. She came up to me and she said, that was so good. I really needed this. So you never know. And I've had other people who, have had deaths, of someone close to them, who come and then they end up having this cathartic laugh cry because they get to let the emotion out, because laughter and crying are very similar. And I've had other people who end up standing up on a chair and saying that I'm feeling so good. No, totally, not encourage it, just they do that. And it's amazing how laughter can heal us. And we get this connection, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that I discovered it myself.
Well, that's a great lesson, and there's so many different modalities for healing. And besides the yoga, the laughter yoga that you do, there's you've now taken on this entrepreneurial hat, and you continue to go out and help others. Let's talk a little bit about that, what you're doing now, why you're podcasting, and what message are you spreading through your entrepreneurial
It's
ways.
mostly passing on, trying to let people know that you don't want to continue trading your health for other responsibilities. And the reason is
Mm.
because it's very easy to do so. We put other priorities ahead of us, whether it's our career, whether it's our business, whether it's our family members, or others that we prioritize. We'll always have those priorities, but the key is not to let it affect our health long term. So the important part is to try and get a sense of balance of our health. So, as we talked about earlier about these early warning signs of health, what happens is, if we don't take our health seriously, what ends up happening is we continue to stress ourselves out. So we're dumping adrenaline and cortisol into our bodies, which is great for short term, challenges. So, I'm sure listeners have heard about the fight, flight, or, or flee. Um, what ends up happening is our bodies are the same bodies we had back in the Stone Age. And back then, if we had to run away from a T-Rex or a saber-toothed tiger or something like that, yeah, that's perfectly fine. We run, and we've, 30 seconds, a minute of stress to be able to do that is perfectly fine. But nowadays, what happens is that most of our stress is mental. And the crazy thing is, most of our mental stress we do to ourselves. I'll just repeat that so that everybody hears that. Most of our mental stress we do to ourselves. And the problem is that mentally, because our mind has so much power over our bodies, when we continuously dump cortisol and adrenaline into our bodies because we're worrying about something, that causes problems long term, because you're constantly putting your body under stress. And when I was doing the research for my book, what I found was that there actually is two types of stress that we really have to be careful about, because all other stress actually is not that problematic. In fact, some stress is actually good. If we're working on something that we're excited about and we have something we got to get done, like we have a deadline, that's actually good stress. It's the word is eustress, eustress. When we're working on something that we're excited about, etc., and we have to get something done, that's perfectly fine. But the stress that we really have to be careful about, there's two flavors of it. One is ruminating about something in the past. And this usually happens like with guilt. We're either guilty about something we did or didn't do in the past. Well, the problem is it's in the past. We can't change it. But what we can do is forgive ourselves and move on. So if we can stop ruminating about something in the past And then the other one is anxiety about something that may or may not happen in the future. And how often we do it to ourselves, but also we know people who worry about something that may or may not happen in the past. The problem is it's, if we focus on what something might go wrong, what we're doing is that we often manifest a negative outcome. So a perfect example of this is, let's say we have to have a difficult conversation with somebody. And we sit there and we worry about it and worry about it and worry about it, right? And what do we end up doing if we're worrying about it going wrong? It's gonna go, you know? But what I always recommend to people is, if you are worried about a conversation with someone, and this is whether it's somebody you work with, a family member, a friend, whoever it happens to be, instead of focusing on what will go wrong, imagine 5 seconds after that conversation ends, whether it's that person or you making the last word. And then you imagine that person smiling, maybe shaking their hand, giving them a hug, whatever it happens to be. And that's what you imagine, instead of the anxiety of it going wrong. And that helps, because it doesn't do us any good to continuously have anxiety about how that conversation is going to go, because all we're doing when we are anxious is we're dumping that cortisol, we're dumping that adrenaline into our bodies unnecessarily. And when we continue to do this, whether we're ruminating about the past or anxious about something in the future, when we're continuously dumping those bad, I don't want to call it bad, because it's good for us if we do it in short term, but over and over and over again, when we're dumping the cortisol, when we're dumping the adrenaline into our bodies, it puts our bodies under attack. And if we don't address it in the short term, what ends up happening is our bodies just have to keep upping the ante. And for me, what had ended up happening was, the weakest link in my chain was my pancreas. And that's what link in the chain broke. And you don't want to get to the point where you have some sort of chronic condition that now you have to deal with for the rest of your life. You want to do it. Even with diabetes, my body did give me the indicator. The doctor did say, "Oh, you're pre-diabetic," and I thought to myself, "Pre-diabetic? I don't have any. There's nobody in my family that has diabetes." Did I listen though? No. I thought, oh, whatever. I'll deal with it when I deal with it. And boom, once you get over the from pre-diabetic to diabetic, you can't go back. There's only, unfortunately, one clinical study that has said you can reverse diabetes. And that one, it was only 15 patients, and they had to go on a diet of 500 calories a day. It's just, it's not, not sustainable. So I just want people to remember that your health is paramount, because if I've had people that say, "Oh, well, you know what? I could still do stuff if I don't have my health." And I say, "Okay, really? Let's think about the last time that you had a really bad flu." And if they honestly think about that, I say, when you had that flu, did you feel like doing anything other than lying in bed? And if they're honest, they'll say no. And then I say, okay. So when you were lying in bed, were you any good to your family? Were you any good to your business? Were you any good to the company you work for? No, because you don't have any energy. So don't take your health for granted, because you can't be there for other family members if you lose your own health. It is so, so important.
What else is important is the work that you're doing. And I really appreciate the fact that you've taken your your experience and used it not as a crutch or woe is me, but really, really to go out and to spread the word and to help others people and to help others laugh and to help others have an understanding and all of the things that you're doing. Um, we can sit down for hours, but this conversation was really important because someone needs to know that just because they may have an obstacle in front of them doesn't mean that it's over. That life is just still there for them to live. And you're doing amazing work, and I want to thank you, Professor
Well,
Pete.
NaRon, I want to thank you for having the opportunity to come here and have this great conversation with you. And if even one listener can, take the advice and actually take care of their health, then then I've done my job.
Well, there you have it, everyone. I told you we only sit you at the feet of masters, the people that who can give you things to take away. We had a laugh lesson. I'm gonna actually implement that because I usually do the yarning because
Uh-huh.
a
Yep.
similar effect. But I'm gonna add the laugh because we need to laugh, especially now.
Oh,
There's so much not to laugh
exactly.
at, and we
Yeah,
need to
and
laugh.
it's
Yeah, and
something where like if you're sitting in traffic, if you're driving and you're frustrated about that, or there's you can Google this on YouTube. There are real examples of people on crowded subways, where one person
it's
starts
laugh.
laughing and then other people around are kind of looking and thinking, what's wrong with this person? But then they start laughing. And then before you know it, within a 10 seconds, 15 seconds, the entire car is laughing, all different people. It's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and this would if we do that in the exercise, it really won't be they're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. We're all laughing together.
Exactly. That's because it's contagious. It is, and it's so funny. When I used to commute into work, I had a mile walk from the subway station to the office. And once a week, I would do this just to see, because I was just curious. And I would smile at people, complete strangers walking opposite direction. And I always was curious, roughly, I would do the math in my head about how many people smiled back at me. And, I would usually get about 50%. The other 50% would not
It's,
want to make eye contact with me because they thought I was nuts or something, So,
it's
so
weird walking down the street and smiling.
I know, because again, so that's what we're taught is not to smile at people because,
Oh, listen, everyone. All of Professor Pete's information is in the description. We want you to go follow his social media. He has a book out that is very helpful, and the tools are timely and timeless. So they're timely, meaning that you can use them at any time. They're timeless, meaning that they date back and they don't go anywhere. There's no new age stuff. This is stuff that has
Mhm.
been tested and is tried and true. And we don't actually for cash apps, Venmos, or any of those things. Not saying that against anyone that does. But what we do ask is that you hit like, that you hit share, and that you hit subscribe. If you're listening on a platform where you can leave a comment, that you would do that too. The likes, the shares, the comments helps these conversations get to the hands and the ears of people that need to hear it. There you have it. Don't walk with your head down. Don't walk making excuses. Professor Pete is now a part of the Walk in Victory family, and we want you to walk in victory. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Thank you, sir.